Hey there, silly geese. Let's get back into part 3 of the Is the Catching Fire movie a great film adaptation series. Remember, our focus here is about whether or not the film actually honors the original text and the characters. This is not a hate train. We're just looking at how the story shifts through the choices made in the adaptation. If you want to catch up on where we are in Catching Fire, there is a link in the card or down in the description with the full playlist for the series. This time we're looking at prep in the beginning of the Victory Tour. Let's get into it.
This is sacred ground.
I heard about Cinna. What happened to Cinna?
Oh, dear. He's a fashion star. You're his muse. Everyone in the Capitol's wearing him. Everyone.
Well, not everyone.
Oh.
We're going to start with a small detail here. We saw the prep team trailing Effie, but there's really no reason for them to be working that closely with her. If anyone, they should be following Cinna around. But the movie makes the choice not to do that. Instead, by grouping the prep team with Effie, it seems like they're trying to represent the three of them as a representation of Capital frivolity. They clearly separate Cinna out, and in doing so, sort of distance him from his position in Capital complicity. I want to sit with this a second, because I'm not claiming that Cinna is a villain because he is a Capital citizen, or because he's participating in the production of the games. I'm saying that, like Plutarch, Cinna is choosing to operate within the system of the games in order to make any sort of change. And by making that choice, he also contributes to the culture of the games. They actually portray this really well in this film when they show little girls dressed up as Katniss, or the little girl in 1 or 2 who comes up to her and says that she wants to volunteer just like Katniss.
Thank you.
One day, I'm gonna volunteer, just like you did.
The brand that Cinna and their team built to keep her alive, it inadvertently glorified the games and Katniss's position within them. By portraying Cinna as separate from these other more ostentatious Capital people, the movie distances Cinna and the rebellion from Capital culture. This is great for a film that's presenting a good guys versus bad guys story. Less good for commentary on how harm and activism is done in real life, though. We just heard Effie comment on how Katniss doesn't know that Cinna's career has blown up since the end of the 74th games. And that's not entirely accurate, because in the books, Cinna and Katniss talk frequently. He's her mentor with her talent. And if you don't know, because they chose not to portray it here in the movie, the talent is the sort of state-mandated hobby that victors are expected to take on to fill their time since they don't have to work to feed themselves. We see the repercussions of this change throughout the movie, so we're going to take a minute to look at how removing the communication between victors and Capital people shapes our understanding of the relationship between victors and the Capital. Then, how the removal of talents also changes the role of victors in Panem. By removing the communication between the Capital and the victors, we're seeing them sort of erase how it might be possible for a rebel network to form and have communicated. In this moment, we're supposed to see that if there is a justifiable reason, communication between victors, at least, and Capital people is possible. That's exactly what we see happen between Cinna and Katniss. This shows us the logistics that would make it possible for a rebel network to communicate, at least in code. It also removes a growing paranoia that we see develop through Catching Fire as Haymitch, Peeta, and Katniss all recognize that their victors' village homes are probably bugged and tapped. Simplifying the narrative to district people don't really know what's going on out there makes it easier to compartmentalize the good guys in the district and the bad guys in the Capital. There's a lot to be said about the absence of the talents in this film. We will talk in depth some other time about how Peeta uses his talent, painting, to cope with the trauma he experienced in the 74th games. The focus right now, though, is more on how the Capital uses these talents as propaganda, both within the districts and within the Capital. From the district perspective, the concept of having leisure time is an incredible luxury, at least during Katniss's time. When the Capital televises victors engaged in pursuits that have nothing to do with survival, they communicate to the other district people 2 things. 1. Victors are not like you, thereby isolating the victors further. And 2, if you, as a young person, are strong enough and brave enough, you can free yourself and potentially your family from the poverty of a life in the districts by becoming a victor yourself. That is the hope that the Capitol gives to the district people that ensures that they continue to participate in these games. The idea of offering incentives for district people to invest in these games comes from Snow himself. After spending time in District 12, he recommends to Gaul several benefits for the victors. A house in the victor's village, for example, a token monetary prize, that sort of thing. The talents aren't really part of the conversation at that point. As far as we can tell, I'm not even sure it's part of the conversation at the point of Haymitch's games, but it works along the same lines. This is something we see happen in the real world too. When influencers or celebrities share their extravagant wealth and their unbelievably expensive hobbies, they're doing the same thing. Once someone is elevated to another class or category, demonstrations of their leisure time and hobbies are treated by those that are still struggling as aspirational or disgusting. Now let's talk about how the talents serve as propaganda for the Capitol. In Sunrise on the Reaping, we learn how exactly talents might have been used as propaganda. Look how well the Capitol treats the tributes, how forgiving they are to their enemies, how superior they are to those district piglets and their stinkholes. I've seen similar clips before of the tributes being treated like pampered pets, playing into the Capitol propaganda. In this moment in Sunrise on the Reaping, Haymitch is talking about Plutarch and the other Capitol people bringing him a birthday cake on the train. But this is just as true about how the talent segments of the television coverage for the Victory Tour would read to the Capitol people. Look at the leisure that they're able to experience because we were kind enough to give them the time and space to do this because they are victors. Same kind of situation. Of course, I know that this is a complicated thing to cover in an already action-packed 2-hour movie. I am not surprised they decided to make the cut around the talents, but the absence of this conversation allows us to distance Capitol people from recognizable systems of propaganda and class performance that we see in the real world.
As a nation, we shared their agony. But we had so little time to revel in their joy.
Well, it's time.
That patient.
She's done. She's lovely. We must feed the monster.
Love that line.
Uh-oh. Oh, trouble in paradise. I hope they're all right.
Things are great here in 12.
Thanks to the generosity of the Capitol, we've never been closer.
25 yards, to be exact. It was nice acting.
You too.
Almost thought that kiss was real.
I don't know why they made Peeta so petty.
All you need to do is give a few speeches, wave to the crowds, and enjoy your time in the spotlight. You've earned it.
What did you say?
Katniss.
I said, enjoy it, Katniss. You've earned it. By killing people. Young lady.
This is an interesting change because we see Katniss lash out at Effie when Effie says that they deserve pampering basically because they killed people. That isn't what Katniss lashes out at her for in the books, and the difference is telling. Our server reports it will not just be for a fuel stop. Some part has malfunctioned and must be replaced. It will require at least an hour. This sends Effie into a state. She pulls out her schedule and begins to work out how the delay will impact every event for the rest of our lives. Finally, I can't stand to listen to her anymore. No one cares, Effie, I snap. Everyone at the table stares at me. Even Haymitch, who you'd think would be on my side in this matter since Effie drives him nuts. I'm immediately put on the defensive. Well, no one does, I say, and get up and leave the dining car. In the movie, Katniss's outburst is moral outrage. She is disgusted with Effie for celebrating the fact that she had to kill people in order to survive. It is really easy to side with Katniss in this version of what happens. In the book, we have Effie just doing her job. In that moment, Effie and Katniss are just operating as parts of the Capitol propaganda machine. Katniss is functionally talent, and Effie is her handler. So, when Katniss lashes out at Effie here, it's not fair, which is ultimately why she has to apologize later. The film chooses to do the easier thing here. It is easier to show Capitol people as monsters than it is to show that monstrosity happens when lower level workers just do what they're told. We have these moments where she glimpses state intel by just walking through the train, and I find it so funny because why would this be in the middle of the train? Somewhere they would need to pass in order to get to another car. Logistically, it just makes no sense. I know that they're trying to make up for the fact that we can't see the reports in Madge's dad's office because Madge doesn't exist, but still, what a choice.
You don't have to apologize to anybody, including me.
For the situation that they show us in the movie, it makes sense that she wouldn't need to apologize to Effie. Of course, she does need to apologize to Book Effie because she was just doing her job.
I know it's not fair of me to hold you to things you said in the games. You saved us. I know that. But I can't go on acting for the cameras and then just ignoring each other in real life. So if you can stop looking at me like I'm wounded, then I can quit acting like it.
I mentioned in the love triangle video that we posted a while back that this moment, this apology, is where we see growth from Peeta. Immediately after the 74th games, he expects that Katniss's feelings for him are real, not just part of the strategy that they were following. So he gets upset at the end of the last book about their feelings not being mutual. And in this scene, he recovers from that because he recognizes that he was unfair to her and holds himself accountable for that. This is such an important scene, and I think that the movie really falters here. Let's listen to what Peeta just said again.
So if you can stop looking at me like I'm wounded, then I can quit acting like it.
Sir, what? His actions should change first, and then her reaction to his actions will change. In the movie, he puts more responsibility on her than actually belongs to her. The book shows us the more responsible version of this conversation. So I thought, if I stopped being so, wounded, we could take a shot at just being friends, he says. Book Peeta is so much more emotionally mature than movie Peeta, and I have no idea why they decided to make this change.
And then maybe we have a shot at being friends.
I've never been very good at friends.
For starters, it does help when you know the person. I hardly know anything about you except that you're stubborn and good with a bow.
That about sums me up.
No, there's more than that. You just don't want to tell me.
When Peeta challenges Katniss about being friends in the films, he comes off as a little pushy, but Book Peeta approaches this moment from a place of gratitude and respect. Let's start with something a little more basic. Isn't it strange that I know you'd risk your life to save mine? But I don't know what your favorite color is, he says. A smile creeps onto my lips. Green, what's yours? Do you feel the difference? We see growth in Book Peeta because after this conversation, he doesn't show entitlement towards Katniss anymore. He keeps showing up for her as a friend from this point forward. Even when it's clear that she's choosing Gale after the whipping, he still continues to show up to support her. This is one of the key distinctions between Peeta and Gale, but the film just treats them both as sort of entitled. I also want to make a quick note that it's after this conversation that Peeta takes Katniss to go see his talent. He has loads of paintings based on his experience in the games. Katniss sees them and is bothered, disturbed by them because she's trying to forget the games and he's bringing them back into her life. He explicitly acknowledges that this is how he's dealing with his trauma from the games, but we obviously don't see any of that. It's all been cut.
Did you see that?
This moment with the Mockingjay symbol hidden inside a tunnel is really neat and cinematic, but it doesn't make sense for Panem or this rebellion. The Mockingjay is used in two ways in Catching Fire: as a fashion statement in the capital and as a symbol of rebellion among the rebels. The rebels do not use this symbol in ways that are permanent, because that would be dangerous. Effie doesn't know that my Mockingjay pin is now a symbol used by the rebels, at least in District 8. In the capital, the Mockingjay is still a fun reminder of an especially exciting Hunger Games. What else could it be? Real rebels don't put a secret symbol on something as durable as jewelry. They put it on a wafer of bread that can be eaten in a second if necessary. We as readers know that some of the rebels do in fact put it on jewelry. Plutarch has a symbol, the same Mockingjay symbol, on a pocket watch, but it disappears. And in Panem, with all of its surveillance, how would someone have spray painted that symbol into a tunnel, which is no doubt recorded? Even if someone were able to spray paint the symbol up, why would they put it in a train tunnel? It's not like the real world where people are coming and going places and it would serve as a secret message to large groups of people. Katniss talks about how no one's really able to move between districts. So what purpose would spray painting this symbol there even serve? It's an unnecessary risk. Who would risk death or becoming an Avox to spray paint a symbol that may or may not be seen? I believe that this and other graffiti that we see in Catching Fire is meant to more closely align the rebellion in Panem with the cries for social change that we see in the real world. Anyone watching Catching Fire probably does have freedom of movement, to be able to move from one state to another, one city to another, whatever, and would probably be familiar with graffiti or other works of art calling for social change being placed in these areas of transit. It's pretty common in the real world, where people actually move. And that wraps up part 3 of the Catching Fire is a Great Film Adaptation series. In this section of the film, we see a continued pattern of the movie taking complex systems and simplifying them into cleaner moral lines. The divide between capital citizens and district people becomes a lot easier to see, but is also less representative of what we actually experience in the real world, and the commentary Collins offered on that. In the books, Panem is ruthless because surveillance is constant, labor is mandatory, and even well-meaning people are sucked up into a machine of harm and violence. In the film, they make that a lot easier to cope with by softening the machinery and making the harm something that's done on an individual basis rather than structurally. These changes matter because they shape how we understand resistance, responsibility, and survival, and they become more and more important throughout the story of Catching Fire. Next time we head into the victory tour, we will start in District 11 and go straight on to the President's Mansion. So I hope you will join us for that. Quackers?